Welcome to Theory of Conspiracy. A couple of northern lads from the UK discuss plots, cover-ups, and the unexplainable.
Hi, I'm Andy the Skeptic.
Hello, I'm Carlos. I believe.
So are we recording yet? Or are we not?
Yeah, we are recording. Okay. One sec.
Carlos is handsome and beautiful. Hey, tell you what, I listened to our simulation podcast. I fucking liked it, you know. It was like, we're actually, for a second then, I actually thought it was two intelligent guys having an intelligent conversation for a second. You know,
is that our last one?
Yeah, last one, yeah.
Well,
I loved it,
well, this one will be back to the norm then, eh? Mr. Paris says, welcome back, guys. Good to have you back. Yes, nice to have you back as well, mate.
Hello, welcome, Mr. Paris. It's been a long time. We're back. Excellent. I'll sit quiet for a second.
So, you don't have to sit quiet. You can say what you want. It's all good stuff.
I'm naked just in case.
Yeah.
I've got my underpants on, people, but just in case. It's so humid in Manchester now. It's like Hawaii.
So, it's a theory that the water So it's a theory. Oh shit! So it's a theory that the water can. Oh, blah, blah, blah. So it's a theory that the water can. Oh my god! Condensation. I can say it.
Because Thomas the Tank Engine come on before. I'm not watching it just in case. Jeremy Clarkson was.
Hold on. You're not watching Thomas the Tank Engine just in case what?
I don't know.
You get hooked. You have to do the whole box set.
Because once you stopped, you can't stop. Once you popped, you can't stop.
If you would like to support the podcast, please talk about this with your friends or give us a review on iTunes. You can comment or contribute at TheoConPod. That's at TheoConPod. Or check the link in the podcast description.
Listen up, this is the main bit.
Welcome back, or if it's your first time here, thanks for stopping by. Today it's just myself, Carlos, and the chat room. If you want to get in on the chat room action, you can find us on social media. Recording's been a bit erratic of late, which I'll probably go into in more detail in a bit. So the best thing to do is to find us on Twitch, subscribe, and then when we do go live, you'll get an email notification. It's normally on Wednesday nights, but today we're recording on a Thursday night because Carlos can't tell the time or doesn't know how to use the calendar.
No, I blame Manchester United. Let me blame Man United for that. But I still can't tell the time.
Just want to plug our YouTube channel. Go over there and subscribe. Again, all the social media and links are in our show notes. It's one link and it takes you to the links for everything. And then once you find us on Facebook or Twitch or Twitter, you can basically, you'll pick up on our posts and get our links. Yeah, so YouTube, we're often talking about visual stuff in the podcast. And sometimes we don't. I just put pretty pictures up there with the sound. But when we do talk about visual stuff, like the episode we talked about secret underground bases, and we started talking about these massive, huge crystals as big as a house. I went and I dug out some pictures and I've put them on there. So as we're talking about it, you can actually visualize what we're talking about. So if you like pretty pictures, Carlos loves them, then go ahead and have a look at that.
I think you're underselling yourself there, Andy. I think the visuals are absolutely spot on. And the last podcast you did, which was the one we did Is This a Simulation? You did it in the sort of like in the visuals of the Matrix, and it was brilliant. It's very engaging because, yeah, I understand if you drive and you can't look at visuals, but if you're sat at home or you're on your dinner at work and you've got like a spare half an hour, 45 minutes, because if like you just said, if we're talking about a certain object or a certain building or a certain artifact, and then you've put, I talk about a certain artifact, and then you put the visuals that go, oh, that's what he's on about, and it's sort of like, it's a bit like, that's why YouTube and television is so successful, because when you got someone like David Attenborough narrating, and you see a picture of a lion attacking a wildebeest, you could sort of you fuse two worlds together, the oral world and the visual world together, or the audio world, not the oral, the audio world and the visual world together, and it creates a little masterpiece. So I think you're underselling yourself, Andy. The YouTube channel is fucking great.
I'm very modest, Carlos. I know we need to plug these sort of things, but yeah, I am a bit of a whiz with the video, and
You are very good.
I
You are.
love the fact that you phoned me up and you went, "Was that a picture of me in there? I could see
Yeah.
myself. I could see myself."
Because I was like,
Yeah.
is that me? I thought I was Neil for a second, or Morpheus. No, Neil. Morpheus dies, does it? Or gets killed. I can't remember.
I'm gonna read a review out. If the listeners want to send us a review, I'll read them out on air. If they want to send us an audio message, only one person's ever done that, but we'll play the audio message out. If you don't know how to do an audio message, basically you go to Facebook, you go to the page, you send us a message, and you can record a message. If you're struggling with that, just record a video of yourself talking, and you can cover the camera up. I'm just going to use the audio anyway, and then just send us that as a file. Just ping it or post it, ping it, send it as a message. You can ask us anything, and we'll do our best to answer it, or you can just tell us how rubbish we are, and whatever you want to say it. I'm not afraid to put it on there.
Or even if you think I'm a sex symbol, just I'm happy. I'm happy for people to say that. You know what I mean? So
You're more a drum cymbal than a sex symbol. On the chat room tonight, we've just got Mr. Paris. If anybody's listened to sort of back end of season 1, season 2, and we keep mentioning Nick. So Nick was one of the forefathers. He's one of the founders of the podcast. It was 3 of us back in the early days. I'm not saying go back and listen to the early episodes, because actually episodes 1 to 5 are a little bit ropey, and I don't think they're as streamlined as these new ones, the later ones.
we'll get.
By
we'll
all
get to
means,
know
go
each
back
other.
if you want. Yeah,
We'll
by
get
all
to know
means,
each
go
other.
back. Well, we already knew each other, but we were getting to the feel of the podcast
Yeah,
and
that's it,
not
the podcast,
talking over each other and things like that. If you want to listen to them. But I don't think it's our best work. I think 5, 6 onwards, that's where it starts to get really good, and then obviously we've thrown new things in, and I've got better, and the videos have got what you're laughing at, Carlos.
No, because I'm just thinking all the early outtakes were just sort of, hello, can you hear me? Hello, yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, fine. You're too loud. It's low down. It's like
Yeah.
it's like you're just giving monkeys the gift of fire for the first time, as it was like with us three. We were, hello, can you hear me? Yeah. Oh, sorry, Nick. You speak. Oh, Nick, turn your TV down. Oh,
And you're still burning your fingers, Carlos.
I know. So it's like it was hilarious.
Yeah, before I do the review, the reason the podcasts have been a bit erratic on coming out is, well, 2020 was an okay year for me. I got a new job after leaving a place after 14 years. I got a bit of a pay rise, and that didn't really affect me because they then messed my tax up. But 2021 has been a bit shit actually, because out of the blue, the company I work for just went under. It had grown rapidly in 2020 when they were expanding into new countries, and one thing and another. All I'm going to say is Google David Cameron and Lex Greensill, and basically that's it. The company went under. So I found myself for the first time in years without a job, and the last thing I wanted after voluntarily leaving somewhere after 14 years. After about 8 and 9 weeks, I did eventually get another job, so it wasn't too bad. It was quite a stressful time. I think we only recorded like 1 or 2 podcasts during that time. So that's why that was a bit erratic. And then just as the day I'm about to start a new job, I'm in A&E that weekend with pain and didn't come out of hospital. Had to have an operation. I had an infected gallbladder, so they took that out. And yeah, that was another bit of a delay. So sorry about that. Hopefully that's my run of bad luck over. And
just to clarify, Andy, your new job is not a gigolo or male stripper, is it not? Just for the listeners at home.
No, it's not. That's the sort of thing Nick does. So we've had a review. It was actually on the 9th of May, so I think I missed this. I didn't
you
check
did, because we did one after May.
Yeah, I think it was the 14th of May we recorded the last one.
So you have to apologise to the writer, because the writer's probably been waiting a month for you to read it out. Over a month.
Yes, I'm very sorry to Gersha Singh. and he's given us 5 stars, and he says, honestly, a great podcast. Cannot wait for the next one. Here's the next one. Sorry it's been delayed. So what do you think of that review, Carlos? I love that one. Nice, to the point.
Yeah, it's good. It's clear and concise, and it's like it's amazing because I know I keep plug Clubhouse. A lot of people won't know this, but I go into Clubhouse where it's like an audio. Think of it as like conference calls, but with the whole world. You go into different rooms, and it's sort of. And I've spoken to a few people to go into the podcast. But nobody, the Americans don't use YouTube. All the Americans are going to Spotify, which I find really ironic. And a couple of people I've like, oh, I really like your podcast. They tell me audio, but the annoying thing I hate about Spotify is you can't leave a comment on Spotify. And a lot of people are actually sending me personal sort of DMs saying, I like your podcast. I love it on Spotify. I says, well, please go to YouTube or Facebook and leave a comment. Oh, I don't use them social platforms. I only use Spotify. So I like, so what was that gentleman's name called? Sorry, what was it called?
Gersha Singh.
Gersha Singh.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. And it does make it sometimes you think when you do a podcast, you think, I hope that podcast went out there. I hope I got my point across. I hope I didn't come across as aloof or XYZ. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for that comment. It means a lot.
You can help support the podcast or keep in touch with the boys by following them on Twitch and subscribing on YouTube. Please check the link in the show notes when you get a moment.
It's Thursday, the 10th of June, 2021, and this is episode 8 of season 2. Right, so today we're talking about chemtrails. The term chemtrail is a portmanteau, which is like, it means you're combining 2 different words to make another word. So it's the word chemical and trail, just as contrail is a portmanteau of condensation and trail. It's also known as SLAP, Secret Large Scale Atmospheric Program. I haven't personally heard of that one before.
Slap, you said as in slap across the face? Slap?
Yes, SLAP, Secret Large Scale Atmospheric Program. It's a theory that the water condensation trails, or contrails, from aircraft have actually got like biological agents and chemicals in them, like barium and stuff, and they're being pumped into the atmosphere by secret government agencies or policies. And according to a stat I saw on the internet, and it must be true if it's on the internet, apparently 17% of people globally believe that the theory is true or partly true. So yeah, there we go. We're being squirted all these chemicals from your average airplanes from the sky. What's your take on that, Carlos?
It's an interesting take, and it's something I've known about for probably 15, 20 years. Because I've known about it for a lot longer than, but I think when I actually started thinking, could this be used in some of to manipulate civilizations, things like population control or just changing the mood of areas. So all we have to do is look at our history book. So you have to. It's a little bit. I've delved into the subject. I've looked into it, and I'm trying to think because it's you can go down a rabbit hole. This is one of them subjects, a bit like flat Earth. You can go down a rabbit hole on this one, and if I look, okay, let's look at it as like scientifically, mathematically, and with intellect as well, intelligent as well.
Which one are you doing first?
I'll do all three. I'll meld all three together. But during the Vietnam War, the Americans influenced the weather during the Vietnam War, so they brought a monsoon season earlier. So when the Viet Congs were literally pulling their, I don't know what they call it, like the machine guns on like wheels, cannons and stuff across the rice fields because it was absolutely waterlogged. They couldn't. So what the Vietnamese had to do, they had to go into the jungle and stay there, and practically that was guerrilla warfare. The Americans didn't foresee this. They thought the Vietnamese would surrender, but the American soldiers had to go into the jungles, and that's when the Viet Congs were literally wiping the American soldiers out one by one. Because it's a bit like if I walk into your home, Andy, and you switch off all the lights, more likely I'm going to trip over something, but you're not, because you know, oh, there's the couch, there's the settee, there's the table, and stuff like that. So
You
so
say
we
that, but my missus is always moving the couches around. It's a good job I'm not blind. Honest to God,
well, you have to.
I can't go out and come back, and the living room's the same.
It's always something. My mum's the same. It must be a thing. It must be a woman thing. I like things exactly where they're always. But so we've been so that's not conspiracy theory. That is factual. So the American government manipulated the weather. So and obviously that created more rain. Okay, okay, let's take it to the next. Let's just bring it back to science and somewhat more. If you go on and put this, might be good for your visuals, or Andy, is Thomas Clark, Jeremy
Thomas the
Clark,
Tank Engine.
I was thinking of Thomas Clark. I used to go Sky with the guy, but also Thomas the Tank Engine at the same time, because Thomas the Tank Engine come on before. I'm not watching it just in case. Jeremy Clarkson was
Hold
on.
on, hold on, hold on. You're not watching Thomas the Tank Engine just in case what?
I don't know.
You
Just
get
I.
you get hooked. You have to
Yeah,
do the whole box set.
because once you stopped, you can't stop. Once you popped, you can't stop. Was that Pringles or something? It's a bit like Pringles. Uh,
Yeah, Pringles don't sponsor us, by the way.
you should do. Um, but no, so there's an episode of Jeremy Clark. It might have been. I don't know if it was Top Gear, but it was one of them talking about science. And he says he was in this factory somewhere in the world. I can't remember which part of the world it was. But if you Google Jeremy Clarkson and rainfall, you put it. So basically, he goes in there, and then literally this company in the factory create smoke, and you can see the smoke. It looks like clouds going up to the sky, and then roughly about 2 hours later, it starts raining. Starts raining. So I'm thinking we've manipulated weather. We manipulate. Okay, now okay. And I started thinking this is the bit when that kind of the penny dropped. What's stopping me putting some kind of fluid or some kind of bacteria or some kind of chemical in those raindrops to influence people? So, for example, I might put some form of chemical in these raindrops to make people happier. Some kind of opium, for example. No, just for example, we could put opium in and make people happier. But I thought, okay, if I can make people happier, also I can make people more violent, more angrier. I'm sure I don't know what the opposite of opium is, but it's sort of say there is probably chemicals what make people could be more paranoid or like some form of LSD or just for example. So we've done it now. So it's no longer science fiction. This is science fact. The question you're asking, and I know I'm just giving you the nice kind of answer. The question would be, I'd like to ask, would would a government use this to manipulate civilizations, i.e., make people more sterile, or if you've got population control, for example? Say, for example, if we know that a certain country is overpopulated, let's make that country and maybe make 10% of them infertile. So
Right.
that's the
Before
question.
before we get onto that, whether governments would do it to us, the answer is probably yeah, they would. But let's go back to the factories that you talked about. So
Yeah,
you don't have to go very far. Here in the UK, we have cooling towers at power stations, and the way cooling towers work is they're designed to cool down the water that's been used to cool down like nuclear reactors or whatever. So it's just it's just normal water, but it's cooled down in these massive towers that create steam, and so it condenses and it falls back, and they can reuse the water. But some of the steam does get out, and what are clouds made of? Clouds are basically made of water vapor, so they
yes,
do
well,
fly up into the sky, form clouds, add to the existing clouds, and come back to Earth naturally as normal water. Whether you can then add a chemical to that process, I am not sure. I suppose, and because I watch a lot of
science.
um, I watch a lot of science. No, I watch a lot of moonshiners, and the way you distill beer into whiskey.
Moonshine, as in the people who used to do illegally in the 1930s.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
mean? Okay,
yeah.
okay,
There's a
okay.
show. There's a show
Yeah.
on TV. You can watch it. So the way you turn. So first of all, you make a mash, which is basically you make a beer. You get
Yeah,
fermented corn, rice, whatever, fruit. It's got some alcohol content, but you want to turn it into a whiskey or a moonshine. So you put it in this, you basically put it in this pot and you boil it. And because you want to capture the vapors, it's all an enclosed system. So it rises up, it turns to water vapor. The water falls back into the pot, but alcohol, because it's lighter, keeps traveling up, and then you pass it through some pipes, cool it down, and it comes back into a liquid form, and then you capture it. Now, if that pot wasn't open, I guess those vapors would just rise up into the atmosphere because they're lighter than air and would just disappear. I'm not sure they would come back down and you'd be able to get drunk off rain clouds. But
So
which
you
is
got
what
the
you're
rain.
saying. So I'm not sure it's a very good mechanism for doing that. But chemtrails are different. It's not about making smoke. Chemtrails is
It's smoking.
supposedly
Yeah,
it's not smoke. You're literally spraying, just like you crop dust a field. You literally have got tanks of liquid on board and you spray it out of jets on your wings or underneath your wings, and that produces these clouds behind airplanes,
so
supposedly.
that's what I was trying to meld both worlds together, because we've done it with we've done it in the 70s. I think that Vietnam War, was it the 60s or 70s? Okay, let's go
Yeah,
to the 70s.
it's called cloud seeding. Now that is
So
that is a bit of science. It doesn't
that was
always work.
well, that was 50 years ago, and a lot of technology. So that's why I try and apply it with the chemtrails. So
Okay.
if we could do it in one application, we could
Yeah.
probably migrate it to a different application. And that's the bit where I'm thinking and the question would be, would a government use this to sort of like influence certain areas or change the perception of an area? So, like,
I
there's a famous story. Sorry. So there's a
Go
famous
on.
story where Prince, the artist Prince, he said, if you Google Prince chemtrails, he does an interview on this. He does an interview on it, and he talks about when he was growing up in his neighborhood. I don't know where he grew up, but let's say New York, just for example, say New York. But don't quote me on that, but just say New York. He was growing up in New York. He says everybody will be fine, happy, loving each other. Then he'll see some planes flying over, and you can see the sort of like chemtrails, and they wouldn't be just more than one plane. There'd be several planes coming over. And then literally a few hours later, everybody would be horrible to each other and violent towards each other. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he's trying to say. He says everybody in the neighborhood. And so what he was trying to say, it kept, and this is the bit you got to be careful how you say it, but I'm just paraphrasing Prince. He says it kept the black communities hating each other and fighting each other. That's the bit where, and I think that's where the chemtrail went down that kind of rabbit hole and down that conspiracy theories, where people were trying to control certain communities around the United States. Well, that's a different conversation, but that's where it really stems from.
And I don't think we're ever going to be able to answer that. I mean, even me, I'm obviously very skeptical about literally everything you throw at me, whether
Yeah,
it's 9/11, whether it's flat
flat
Earth,
Earth.
whether it's landing on the moon, whether it's chemtrails, because I like to see the science that backs it up. On the same hand, or on the other hand, I'm also skeptical of government agendas.
Uh,
It's been documented that governments have experimented on their own people and taught people out. So, would the government like to do it if they could get away with it and no one would ever find out? Of course they'd do it because it's all about control. If it if whatever it is suits their agenda, would countries do it to other countries? Again, yes, they would if they could get away with it and it would never get found out. But
chemical warfare. All we have to do, and is go back to the history books, and we look at a guy where everybody sees as the greatest explorer the world has ever seen, Christopher Columbus. People forget Christopher. One of the greatest gifts Christopher Columbus gave the Americans was syphilis and smallpox. You know what I mean? So because he gave the Native Americans fabric like quilts or whatever with, but they were rubbed with smallpox and with people, and then because their immune system weren't so the Native Americans didn't have the immune system because us
because they've never
Europe.
been exposed to it. Yeah, well,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, that's exactly why you get all these sci-fi things about, oh, we find an alien rock and it's got some life on it and it's got
Look at
some
War of the
disease and it
Worlds.
wipes us out.
They defeated War of the Worlds with
Well,
bird flu,
yeah,
didn't they?
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's another example.
uh,
So The thing is, I don't think we're going to get to the bottom of that, and I don't think we're going to prove it either way. But
No,
what we
we'll never
can
be able to
look at,
disprove it.
but what we can look at, right, is so let's go back to dusting your crops. So
Yes.
how high off the ground do crop dusters fly over fields? It's literally a matter of feet to spray the crops with whatever they're spraying it with. Now, an airliner 40, 50,000 feet in the air, right? Because that's the sort of height they're at
So
when they
how long
start.
will the droplets get to you, basically? How long would it
Well,
take?
would it even get to you? So if you fly over London,
Yeah.
directly over London, and you spray it, that's going to land nowhere near London for starters, because the wind is gonna just blow
Yeah.
it. So it might blow it out to sea. It's been a waste.
Or go into the
What
wrong
sort of
area, which the area you don't want to concentrate on.
exactly?
Yeah.
So what sort of yeah, it's like trying to spray a wasp with wasp killer
Okay, Andy, let me just jump in
from the
there.
house over the other side of the road.
Let me just jump in here. So, okay, chemtrails. The way you just put that's a fantastic analogy. You know, the crops with the crops, and with because obviously when you see, I've seen it, and they fly literally 10, 15, 20 feet off them. So that's to
Yeah.
give them the full fat version. So maybe if you go on the sky, you probably get the what's before skim. You got skim, semi-skim, full fat. So whatever before skimmed is probably diluted or something. So you probably get that. You probably get that version. But okay, you by saying that, I've just started thinking. Okay, do you think chemtrails could be not just by aviation, but could by automation? So could you have like something blowing out the back of your exhaust? Could that be a form of chemtrail then? I've just thought that as you said that. So if I'm driving,
Well,
for
at
example,
ground level, you mean
yeah,
put something in the petrol or diesel?
yeah. So I'm
I mean
driving in my black
that's
cab.
killing us. That's killing us anyway. You don't
So
need to put anything else in here.
but yeah, if I would drive a black cab and I put an extra, say, some kind of bacteria or some kind of chemical which could alter people's moods or even change their feelings or even say manipulate their DNA, but could do things. Could I put it in an exhaust pipe and that would give it the full fat version? Because I'm actually driving around schools, I'm driving around people's cul-de-sacs, so I'm just taking it to the next level now because
Well,
what you say,
what you're saying is you're just trying to come up with a more efficient way. So you're already thinking. You're absolutely right, Andy.
uh,
Planes are not very efficient for doing what you're trying to do. Why don't
they,
we do
prob-
something at ground
they
level?
probably are efficient,
Drive round in a car.
but you just have to be a little bit more calculated. Whereas a car, it's a bit like you can kill someone, but you can kill yourself by with paper cuts, but it'll probably take you about a million paper cuts, or you could just blow your brains out. So it's like that's why with this one, what you that's why I find it a very interesting subject because the source of the chemtrail, like I'll probably look up this. If I was, what height does a plane fly at? Was it about 30,000, 40,000 feet? Is it? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. What would you say?
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to
Depends
see.
on the plane, but yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see if I was to drop a coin, how long does that take to hit the ground? But it's not a coin you're dropping; it's vapor. So how long does that take to sort of trickle down? It probably. Would you say a couple of hours? Would you say a couple of hours? Would you say?
A coin, or you mean
No,
the
no,
vapor?
not like a vapor. If it was like a droplet from a plane,
Jesus, man. I would say vapor is a lot lighter than dust. And going back a couple of years, do you remember when the volcano went off in Iceland?
oh yeah,
Or
yeah,
was
yeah.
it Greenland?
Where we
How
couldn't
long
travel.
exactly? How long could we not travel because dust was in the air at plane level? Because that's why they couldn't fly the planes because they were scared it was going to clog the engines up. It was
Yeah.
weeks. So if dust particles can stay up there for weeks, vapor can stay up there. I'm glad you brought that up and reminded me of that because I that is a really good example to go. This is how bad a planet it is to try and. But the reason I think the reason people think chemtrails is a thing is they believe that we never used to see them in the 80s, but now they're all over the place. I guess the last year we've not seen them because flight has reduced a lot. But I think people just don't understand how they're formed. I've got a video I am going to share, and it was one I saw on TikTok, and I'll put it on Twitter and I'll put it on Facebook. Um, and it's of a jet going past another jet, and literally just the air flowing. It's not stuff coming out of its engines. It's the air flowing over its wings as it does. That's how planes fly. The air is condensing in certain parts of the wings. So basically, you're forcing the air to hit each other. It sort of heats up, and then that's when the water vapor that's in there, because you're smashing the oxygen and the hydrogen that's already in the atmosphere together into little particles of vapor and water vapor, and that's where it comes from. That's how it's made. And if you ever watch a jet hit supersonic speed, break the speed of sound.
Barry, yeah. So,
Yeah,
sonic boom, you mean?
yeah, sonic boom. Yeah, if you ever watch one, you get a little cloud. You get a little cloud just before it does it, and that's because the plane's pushing air forwards in front of it, because obviously it's flying through the air. Some of it's bouncing off and being pushed forward by the momentum of the aircraft, hitting stationary air, and just at that speed of sound, you get you just get this little cloud of vapor that just appears, this little like puff of round. It looks like puff of round smoke, but it's not. It's just water vapor, just as it hits. So that's where it comes from, and people just don't get it. They think it's stuff. Oh, look at them trails! It's stuff coming out. It's coming out of planes.
I'm sort of, because it's one of them subjects where I'm not being a coward. I'm sort of on the fence. You summed it up. If the government could do it and get away with it, would they do it? Hell yeah, fucking yeah, they would. It's like, so we're not completely throwing it out the window, but
they'd come up with a more efficient delivery system,
that's
like
the bit
you.
What the way you just said to me there, because do you know what, I completely, just simple things like what, and that's why I like these podcasts, because you just made me think different. You use that great analogy where that plane goes over a crop circle, and it literally it's probably 10-20 feet off the ground. It's because it's giving it the full fat version instead of not even the semi-skimmed or skimmed or even the diluted version. So that's why. So I started thinking, okay, let's juice this baby up a little bit. Let's do it through a car exhaust, which could be, or just any other form of doing through.
Carlos, I've just thought of an ultimate delivery system. So you're spraying your population because you want to get these chemicals into them, right?
Yeah.
Now, before I say this, right, and before you jump on me, because I don't want to go down the road. I don't want to go down the road of what I'm talking about. This is me just giving you an example.
Yeah.
It's hypothetical. This is not genuinely what I think is happening. But
5G.
No, 5G. How can 5G deliver chemicals? 5G is not anything.
No, I thought you could do
But
frequency.
if I wanted, instead of spraying all of England, all of Great Britain, and giving them chemicals that hopefully they fall on and they breathe in, or they rain down and they drink the water, what I would do is I would invent some sort of disease where you have to inoculate them all against it. Does that sound familiar? Right? No, I'm not saying that is true, because I am so against that. But it was a funny idea that I just thought in my head.
Do you know what, Andy? Because I'll just add to that what you just said, and it was actually, believe it or not, it was a 12-year-old boy who told me this, and I thought, do you know what? Can I use that? He goes, yeah, of course you can. So basically, this he said, you know, I think he just watched the War of the Worlds film, Tom Cruise. The latest one was from about 5, 6, 7 years ago. Tom Cruise, War of the Worlds, and he says he's very into his UFOs. That's why his mum says, "Oh, talk to Carlos. He likes UFOs and all that." So he's talking to me, and everybody's waiting for this announcement when Donald Trump put that in his manifesto, where the governments or the secret services need to start releasing more information. That's why we're getting all these kind of videos being released from the Pentagon. I think the exact release date is the 24th of June. So I don't think they'll release anything major, but I think they'll just put like golden nuggets there for us. But this boy says, "Do you know what will be?" Do you remember he said to him, "Do you know how they killed the aliens at the end?" Now, yeah, from some kind of virus, some bird flu. He says, "What about?" And he said to me, "He says, what if like we're going to get an alien invasion soon, and then the government know that, and the way to defeat them is by setting off viruses around the world. But that's why we're all taking these vaccines, so we're immune to it. But they don't want us tell us they don't want to tell us the truth." And I'm thinking, what? I thought, this is from a 12-year-old boy. I thought, wow, Okay, if I said it, it probably sounds. Carlos might go, "What have you been
Oh
smoking?"
yeah, Carlos, I would rip into you if you said that. No, on a serious note though, Carlos. So
No, but I thought it's a very because he's took it. He took
no, I
his
like
idea from
yeah.
what War of the Worlds.
Yeah, but I like it. I like it, right? So he's basically saying, oh, let's invent coronavirus just so we give ourselves immunity against
Yeah,
any aliens we meet and we'll kill them when we breathe on them.
yeah.
However, if that was the case, that would be the perfect time for the governments to come out and say, there is an alien threat. Don't panic. We've got this thing against it. You all get this jab. I tell you what, more people will be running to get that jab than they are running to get the coronavirus jab
Well, that's why everyone's
to
waiting for
protect
these
them from
announcements.
aliens.
They're waiting for this announcement on the 24th of June because that's
Well,
when the release.
I think we might have to do our next podcast on the 25th of June, Carlos, or a few days afterwards. No,
Yeah, because
seriously,
no, because
because
that's when the announcement for.
I don't think anything's going to be in the anything.
Do you know what, Andy? I fucking, you and I have been around on this planet long enough. What they'll tell us what we need to know. They won't tell us what we want to know. You know what I mean? They'll leave little
What we
nuggets.
need to know.
Yeah, it's just it's like life. Life has a funny way of giving you what you need, never what you want, and that's exactly you need X Y Z.
Do
Nobody
you
needs
do
a
you
billion
remember
pounds.
when it was 50? You know, when 50 years after any event, um, the U.S. government. I'm not sure if it's the same for all governments, but the U.S. government, you can write to them and they will release classified documents. Now they might redact bits of it,
Yeah,
like
government,
put
government,
black marker against it so you can't identify names and locations
or classified. It's secret.
exactly, yeah.
Whatever you want to
But
call it.
they still release the documents. So when it was the anniversary of the Roswell landings, loads of people put these requests in and they were released, they're batched up, and everyone was reading them and expecting to find something that they could go, this is, and there was nothing came out of it, nothing, and it wasn't because they blacked it all out. They were blacking out was just names and stuff, but there was no bits of documents
Because
there
I think
saying
I do believe that certain subjects they won't give you the full fat version. They might give you, excuse me, they might give you the skim version, and that's the bit where
you
because
always compare everything to milk.
no, because it's I just think it's a good analogy. I like that analogy because it's like when I was growing up, like the conversations I used to have with my father when I was sort of like 15, 20 years old are different to the conversations when I was 20, 25 because I was still a young silly boy. A lot of people still think I'm old and silly still, but obviously I could tell that my dad's conversations changed, his literature changed, and the way he expressed and his analogies changed. And I'm sure the way you and your daughter, the way you speak to your daughter today, will be totally different when you speak to your daughter when she's 21 years old. It'll be totally different conversations you'll be having. Is
Yeah.
it?
You're not going out wearing that.
Yeah, you're not going
Dude,
out wearing that.
Mr. Paris in the chat room has another dodgy connection with the 24th of June for anyone that's waiting.
Yeah, please.
He says Strange 2 on the 24th of June is Microsoft's announcement for the next version of Windows. Da, da,
Dun,
da.
dun, dun.
All right, well, watch the skies. Just before we go, did you know there was a partial lunar eclipse today
Yeah, I've seen your pictures on social
on
media.
Facebook?
You
Yeah.
need to put it on the other social media. You've only put it on your own.
Oh, I didn't think to put it on Theory Conspiracy.
Yeah,
I'll stick them on there now.
yeah, put them on there because it's fucking brilliant. Because I like the way you did the ones with the
It's
constellations
just an app
assigned
on
to
my
it as well.
phone where you can, yeah. So you know you can get like these stargazing apps.
Yeah,
So you
Nick
just
told me
point
to
it at
buy
the
one.
sky and it tells you.
It's the
Yeah,
best £2
yeah,
I've
it
ever
tells you.
bought.
Is it?
£2 it
Yeah,
was.
it is pretty cool, and yeah. So you just point it at the sky, and you look for like the moon or Saturn or whatever it is you want to look for. Even satellites, it's good for spotting the ISS. If you know it's coming over, you can
Yeah,
get it out and you know what direction to look in. But the app I've got, you sort of tap it and it uses your camera on the other side of your phone, and then you can blend. So the pictures I've got is the app itself. Then I've got one where it's about a 5% blend, so you can just make out some of the constellations, but all you're seeing is the UK clouds because we couldn't see anything. And then the third one, I sort of increased the blend a bit so you could sort of see the silhouette of the moon and the sun, the placement of it. But you also see some of the other stars and stuff when I do that. But you still see basically what I could see, and that was just cloud. I didn't see anything.
No, so just obviously just to sort of go back to where we're going now. So, I know it's a little bit harder than yes or no, but do you think chemtrails is a real thing, or do you think it's a hoax? It's a bullshit, or do you think it's a real thing?
No, it's never. I don't think it's ever been a thing. I think people just like, oh, why do I see so many? It's because there's so many more planes in the air than there are in the 80s. That's why you see so many.
I'm gonna say chemtrails is real, but I need to reevaluate the administration, how it's delivered. So that's because like I've always said, I have views. I'm not married to my views, so I just thought, okay, you use that fantastic analogy, and I'll give you that with the crop circles and stuff like that. Obviously, a plane might be harder to administer the chemical, but if we used other forms of transport, automotives or fucking cleaning apparatus, or you could put it in, I don't know. So, do I think it's a real thing, chemtrails? Yes, I think it's real, but it's probably the way it's been administered we need to reevaluate.
Don't forget you can leave us a review on iTunes and we will mention it on the show, or send us an audio message to get your voice on air. You can ask us or say anything you like. Check out the links on our social media for our merch store. Each purchase will contribute 50 pence towards supporting the podcast. Also, subscribing to our YouTube and Twitch channels, or sharing this podcast with friends is very much appreciated.